Welcome to Rock and Roll Fridays, a podcast on musical encounters and
Welcome
life.
to Rock and Roll Fridays, and I'm so happy to have a guest, Lisa Bouchelle. Did I get it right?
No.
I got it wrong already?
It's just Lisa Bouchelle. It's a French name, not Italian. Lisa Bouchelle.
I keep trying to make it Italian.
Like boo, and then shell, like a clam. Like boo, like scary, and then shell, like a conch shell. Bouchelle.
Lisa Bouchelle.
Yes.
There it is.
All right,
so you have done so many things, and this is so great because you have such a musical background, but I'll give everyone a little intro. You've sung backup for Bruce Springsteen, duet with Bon Jovi, toured with bands like Train, Bryan Adams, Blues Traveler, Meatloaf, Shooter Jennings, The Wailers, and many others. Obviously, people know you as the host of Rockstar Kitchen on the Mid-Atlantic or the East Coast. And you're a touring musician. Other than that, you're not busy at all, right?
And I've been doing a lot of gigs this summer. It's been crazy.
Well, COVID is over, right? It's back at it.
Yeah, definitely. So it's nice to be back.
Yeah. So why, I always ask everyone, why music? How did you get started? And, you know, what led you down the musical path other than working in an office like us normal folks?
You're normal?
No, not at all.
Actually, like when I was a little kid, I did my first talent show, my first live performance when I was 4 at a campground. I used to try to sing like my dad. He had stage fright, but a beautiful voice. So I entered into this talent show and I was the smallest one. So they put me up on a picnic table and I didn't think, oh, I'm the smallest kid in the show. I thought I get a stage, you know, I'm special. And I stood up and I sang America the Beautiful in this patriotic outfit that my grandma made me. And I won the talent show. And I remember growing up, I had a dysfunctional family. Not that narrows it down, right? A lot of people do.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of arguing and people were always upset. And when I got done singing, my whole family had been arguing all morning. And I remember everybody got along. They were like, oh, that was so great. And I thought, this is the way to bring people together. And I still get emotional about it because I never changed my mind since I was 4. That's what I wanted to do. And yeah, I've had a lot of, you know, the music business is a roller coaster, ups and downs, crazy business, but I've had a lot of successes too. But I don't do it for so much the glory, the money, all this. I do it because I feel like a calling to use music to bring people together.
Yeah, and we are aligned. I always say music is the great communicator, right? In your life with other people. I mean, you're a performer, I'm a fan. So when I go to shows and there's a bunch of people in the audience all going to have a collective experience about music, I think it's fascinating. I think it's awesome. We met at a small place where you were playing, right? So I want to ask you, does it matter? I mean, I'm sure it matters, but like at the end of the day, whether you're performing to 40 people or 4,000 people, is it still the same excitement and you understanding that you're giving people joy in playing music?
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes it's more important. I mean, I've been in arenas like 12,000 people in like Hershey and had people come up to me at the end of the show. I remember one woman said to me, oh, the second line and the second verse of whatever song you did would mean so much to what my daughter's going through. And first I was like, wow, the sound must be really good in this venue if she can hear that much. But the same thing will happen to me at a smaller place, like where we met. Somebody will come up and say, oh, I was in a horrible mood or this and that. And I really related to what you were singing about. I felt less alone. I was bopping around to the music. So it's not really how many people, it's that certain person you reach.
I mean, absolutely. And speaking of reaching, you played with a lot of people. I mean, obviously you've been on big tours, but I think your latest album, you have a song called Jump In with Philadelphia's own G.Love is playing on the album. I mean, that's totally cool. How did that come about? And the song is great. I readily admit the song is catchy and in a good way, not a cheesy way. And as I listen to your music, and we could talk about this, you have different styles and you've played with so many different types of people. But talk about Jump In, the album, and how'd you get connected with G.Love?
Jump In is the track that's about just taking a chance and going for it rather than overthinking. I tend to be an overthinker sometimes, but sometimes we all just got to take the leap, right? A leap of faith. When I recorded the song, I thought to myself, what do I need in here? I want something really, it's a boppy song, right? Very percussive. And I thought I wanted something great in the instrumental portion, but it didn't really want a classic like guitar solo or something like that. So I said, well, maybe we should do like a harmonica solo. And I thought of G.Love because when I was doing a tour right before pandemic, I was on tour sharing the bill with Donovan Frankenreiter.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
a surfer and he's on Jack Johnson's label. He's really amazing surf rock kind of guy. And G.Love and he are friends. So I was performing and I've always liked G.Love's music, but I never really didn't know so much what he looked like in person, really tall. And so he was waiting by the side of the stage. And when I got off, he's like, oh, I loved your set. It was so good. I'm like, oh, cool. Thank you. I'm like, I'm Lisa. What's your name? And he said, Garrett. Well, I didn't put two and two together. He's like, and then the tour manager was like, oh, you realize that's G.Love? I'm like, oh my God. So I rushed him. I'm like, I love your music. I saw him up in Wellfleet, Massachusetts at a show. I didn't expect, we were all beach blown. Everybody looked, I didn't know, full of sand. So I kept in touch, just following him on Instagram and stuff like that. And then when the song came into mind, I said to my manager, we got to see if he's interested in doing it. And he was totally down with it. And I think he took it to a whole other level. It was even better than I thought it would be.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's really, that's the song. I mean, I think every artist has I always ask them what are the starter songs that people should check out? And I really like that. Obviously, I'm a G.Love fan. I just love that song. And I urge everyone, and I'll share links that check out Jump In. The other song that is I love the video. We were talking about this offline. I love the song, a good drinking song. I love the concept of the video. And obviously you have John Popper. You must have a thing about harmonica players, right? So
I work with Southside Johnny, John Popper, G.Love.
So this is Only the Tequila Talking, which is a great song title. So talk me through a little bit of that and how that came about and what that sound is like, because it's kind of a telling song.
Yeah, that's definitely got like a country camp vibe. It's actually inspired not so much by modern country, but more like the song, those Stones song, Girl with the Faraway Eyes, sort of like a camp kind of country, quirky. That's what I was going for. And I contacted John and said, I have this drinking song. Do you want to record it? My first tour, I know John from my very first tour. First time I went out on the road. I went out and opened for Blues Traveler in my own car with no budget, canned goods and a can opener, everything in my trunk, and just went. And I opened for them for 12,000 miles. I drove solo. First time I didn't know them. I started in New Orleans, got down there after driving, canceled all my gigs, found out I was leaving in 3 days, canceled all my summer gigs that year, went down there. I was shaking from driving so much and walked in, and they could have been mean. They could have been anything. And I walked in, they were so sweet. They're like, Jersey girl. And so we got to be really good friends. They'd always have me up on stage to jam with them during the tour. When I did my TV show, Rockstar Kitchen, John was the one who offered to help me do my pilot. So he was my very first guest.
I've seen that. That's awesome. That was the first show. Wow.
Well, he came back and did the one with the goulash, but the pilot, I don't know if they're playing that one out there, but he was the pilot. And so when I called him, I said, I got this drinking song. He's like, why don't you come out to Seattle and we'll have their drummer, Blues Traveler drummer, Brendan, record drums on it. And I would record, and I had some people from my area play guitar and keyboard on it, Tom Riak, Ernie White. So I took all the tracks out there, and then John and I performed and sang it out there. He played harp on it. So
that's amazing. Very cool. Very
cool.
Cool.
So much fun to make. We made that video. I'll tell you, it looks like it's late at night in the saloon. I shouldn't give away secrets, but we made that video at 6 a.m. on a Sunday. The bar was closed, so we could get in to use it. It's Dacey's Pub in Morrisville, Pennsylvania. I'll be there tomorrow night if anybody wants to go check out Dave's Pub on lisabouchelle.com because they got the best food as
That's
Leon.
awesome. Oh, it's very cool. So I urge people to check that out. And then the other one is Twice as Tall. So
Yes.
Twice as Tall features the Trenton, New Jersey Gospel Choir.
Yes.
You have these like harmonica players playing with you and rock stars, and then you got a song that's a beautiful song, and the choir kicks in, and it's like, wow, how did that come about? And that it's just the beautiful harmonies all together. I mean, I love the choir sound with rock and roll, but this is really cool. And talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was not so much into like soul. I like soul music, but I hadn't much written it. My cousin was looking for a jingle for his radio show, so I wrote some soul music. He does soul music, oldies stuff, and I kind of had to like, how am I going to write this jingle? All of a sudden at 4 a.m, it came to me. I started writing all these ideas on the soul music. Like it just came to me. And then I had that idea, and it was during pandemic. And I'm thinking everyone's down and out, you know, like we're going to be twice as tall. We're going to stand twice as tall after the fall. And I'm like, this is such a spiritual song. Sometimes like when I overthink what to put on a song, it makes it worse, you know? So it's kind of like, okay, this is a boppy song. I want a harp solo. This is a spiritual song. I want a gospel choir, you know? And I was born in Trenton. My dad worked in Trenton. He raised us on that, you know, on that money. Trenton, New Jersey has, you know, been where I come from. So I thought, you know, the gospel choir, and it was just, we actually filmed it at Patriots Theater, which is the old war memorial. That's like in Trenton, in the heart of Trenton.
That's
So
awesome.
everything right there.
What's the slogan? Trenton makes, the world takes.
Yep.
Very
And
cool.
of course we're sarcastic, but the world refuses, Trenton uses.
Well,
but I'm from there, so I can joke. But yeah, Trenton make the world. Yeah, the world takes. That's on our bridge going right. Yeah.
So how do you describe your music? Since you've played different styles with different musicians, different types of songs on a single album. Is, you know, I hate genres, but like if people were to say, oh, Lisa's music sounds like,
I think it's alternative Americana. Like it's definitely, because I say this because I mean, I'm a musical poet. I write lyrics and lyrics come to me, and that's how I paint pictures with my lyrics. I just reach for them and they're there. I don't know how, it's just I'm tuned into a frequency where I can write very poetically, and I love it. I thrive on it. My base of everything is with my acoustic guitar. So I track acoustic guitar and I write these songs on acoustic guitar at my house, and then I'll take them out, I'll road test them. When I record, Mike, I put down everything on acoustic guitar and sing it, and then we build the tracks around it. I mean, I'll go to a drum track most of the time, sometimes not, most of the time I do. On the grid, we'll add all the instruments because that's the constant of the genre. It's that acoustic based Lisa groove, you know, like on Americana all. So no matter what direction we build on top of it, it always has that basis to it.
Yeah. I love talking to musicians because to me, that's the most fascinating part. Like, does the music come first? Do the lyrics come first? Do they wake up in the middle of the night? Like, I remember an interview, with Billy Joel, and he was talking about, Paul Simon, and he was talking about Bridge Over Troubled Water. And he's like, the song came to me. I didn't write the song. And it was just fascinating to hear an artist talk about how that came out of him. And I assume you've had those moments where you're like, yep, I don't have to rewrite it. It's already written.
That's how it usually is for me. I don't know if I write it, if I tune into it. Then I was thinking of this concept. It would be such a cool like movie. Like if a musician crossed over to rock and roll heaven, passes away, right? Like, do they stop making music, or do they send music to artists that are down here? Is that why sometimes when we go to write something, it feels like, oh, I didn't just write that, I channeled it, it was there for the taking in the air. Like it was just like a concept, because you're right. I understand what Paul Simon's saying. It feels like it comes through you rather than you create it.
Yeah. And I mean, Bruce Springsteen talks about there's the chain, and the chain goes all the way back to Elvis, and it goes all the way back before Elvis and Beethoven. And there's this chain that you're just, as a musician and artist, and I am neither of those, but I am a creative spirit, and it's, you just absorb all this information, and I'm sure you're picking up things that you see and hear in the world every day, and the artists that you've played with to get to where you're going.
They've all influenced me very much. I'm lucky to have been around so many talented people.
Well, I think also, don't cut your own nose off, right? I mean, I think what you said about someone coming up to you, I mean, to me, I think those moments are very powerful. Like, I've been to a lot of concerts, I've been to a lot of shows, and I always make it a point, and my friends do, if the person playing is good, we go up to them and give them acknowledgement, right? It's like you've been there where you're playing a small venue or whatever, and it's a grind, right?
It can be a grind, well, especially when it's 4 hours. It can be, it's more a marathon than a sprint.
Right. It's like, you're the entertainment, go, right? So, I think it's recognition, and I think given your success and given the amount of people that have looked and seen your music and the people you've played with, I don't have to tell you you should be proud, but if I always say, if someone says, well, this is going to be my career and I'm going to play with this person and be on stage with that person, I'd be like, well, that's pretty damn good, right? So kudos. Yeah. So Rock and Roll Fridays is all about storytelling. Everyone's got a musical story. You have many, but is there one story or person or experience in your rock and roll career that you're like, oh my God, how did this happen, that you can tell us to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, my mom listened to music all the time, and I remember in the car she would play Bon Jovi songs. We're from Jersey, and I would sing along with it and harmonize. My mom wasn't a singer; she wrote poetry. I'd sing, and she'd be like, "Oh, you sound great with him." Like, I know our voices blend so well. I think we would do great at a duet. And then, like, it was weird because you're working so hard, and sometimes we forget to look and rest on our laurels and say, "Oh, look what I've accomplished." You're just working. And I ended up doing a benefit show. I was with John Bon Jovi singing backups in Sayreville. We were doing this benefit show, and he had each of us sing one of his favorite like soul covers or something, and he said I would do Build Me Up Buttercup. Each one of us got one, and then he wanted to do one of his songs with him. Everybody, they did one of his songs, but he said, for you, Lisa, do you want to do a duet with me rather than just one of my songs? You want who says you can't go home with
you're not going to say no to that, right?
That sounds awesome. So I'm working, I'm learning it, getting all ready for everything. Then I'm standing there, not much thinking about the gravity of it all, and I'm singing with him. I thought to myself, my mom, passed away, but I was like, Mom, look, I'm actually singing the duet with John Bon Jovi, and it sounded really good. It's on my website if everybody wants to watch. So I thought that was a surreal moment. I'm
a Jersey guy, and you can't not listen to John Bon Jovi, being from Jersey. So that is awesome. That is very, very cool. And
cool story.
Yeah, and I keep coming back to, people like him don't ask people like you to sing if you don't know what you're doing. So that's really cool.
That's true. Yeah.
So Lisa, where can people find your music? Where can they go on the World Wide Web and check out your stuff?
Well, we obviously are every streaming platform and all the social media, but I would say the best thing to do, because we've decorated it so beautifully, is go to lisabouchelle.com. That way everyone can link off of there to all the social media and see that if they go there, they could see the schedule of shows, when the next tour is coming up, videos and pictures, and everything is on lisabouchelle.com. So that's where I would say to go.
Well, Lisa, it's been a pleasure, and I'm always so thankful to talk to artists and musicians, and especially ones from New Jersey. So I'm glad you joined Rock and Roll Fridays.
Thank you for having me and all the support you give to music.
All right. Thanks, Lisa.